What is up, Maniacs? My name is Zach, and I am the Millie Maker Maniac. Welcome to another episode of the Millie Maker Maniac podcast and YouTube channel. Appreciate y'all tuning in today. We are 13 days away from kickoff, and we are spending $25 today for our shot at $3 million in the DraftKings Best Ball Millionaire tournament. Their Millie Maker first place is $3 million in this one. We are in the 5 spot today, so hopefully either Chase, Puka, or JSN, or if Bijan wants to follow us, we'd be okay with that as well. But looking at one of those 3 guys, this is one of my last 3 drafts before I max out this tournament. So looking for some fun combos that I haven't got yet. We'll see what falls to us. Definitely like trying to get Jeanty on this side of the board. All right. Puka falls to us at 5. We're not going to be mad about that. It's a good start. Now, let's see. Do I have any? I have one Jeanty team with him. So I probably would do Jeanty, or if Brown fell, I would do Brown. I don't have any Brown yet, or Barkley, but if any of these guys fall that I don't have any with, which is unlikely, I'll add them, but I will probably end up doing another Jeanty team if it gets to me here. It sounded like Jeanty will probably play week 1. Even if he doesn't, that doesn't change his long-term view in my mind. I've been taking him ahead of ADP all best ball season long. Obviously, it sucks that he had the sprained ankle, but even if he misses a week or 2 or even 4, I still think he's a good pick in the middle of the second round. And I like that basically I've been able to create a combination with every single first rounder and him except for Gibbs. And I hope I get that one really badly in one of my last 2 drafts. But I like having that combination. He plays the Cardinals in week 17. If we can build a team that can get him to week 17, my gut tells me that Ashton Jeanty is the guy that's going to be the difference maker in best ball this year. He's the guy you have to have in week 17. He's the guy that's going to put up that 40 spot against the Cardinals. That's my prediction, and that is what I am hoping we can build. If we don't get that, obviously we've got plenty of other good players in this range. Got a pretty spread out exposure to all of my other Puka teams. So really can go anywhere in this range. I would love to get Jeanty McBride. I don't have any McBride with Puka, and I love that week 17 combo. Feels like one that could really happen. So let's see if we can get Jeanty to fall. Come on, speak it into existence. Give it to me. Give it to me. Yeah. Derrick Henry goes off the board, and we get Jeanty. So now we're going to see if we can get Trey McBride to fall to us at 29. And we'll get that nice week 17 stack and get a combination that I don't have yet. I don't have any Puka and Trey McBride. So this would be a nice one here. Really, these first few rounds in these best ball drafts, like, these are all good picks. They're up here for a reason. Like, I do think that there's some guys in this range that you should fade a little bit. Like guys like Olave, I think he's a little overdrafted. Henry, I have one lineup with Henry. He's my biggest fade in this range up here. But for the most part, these guys all have the opportunity to have big games and have big seasons. So I'm trying to mix up as many combos as I can with these guys across my portfolio, because at the end of the day, really, your best ball season comes down to one lineup. So I want to have a lot of different combinations and then build teams, good teams, off of those combinations. One more guy for Trey to get to us. If Trey doesn't get to us, we will take Zay Flowers. One more. Come on now. Woo! We are on a heater. We are on a heater. Let's go. That's what the beginning of $3 million looks like right there. Puka Nacua stays healthy all year long and is wide receiver 1. Jeanty doesn't miss any time and has a 1,800-yard rushing season and has 50 catches on top of that and scores 25 touchdowns. And 4 of those come in week 17 against Trey McBride and the Arizona Cardinals. Trey McBride scores 2 touchdowns in garbage times with 120 yards. That sounds like a fun week 17 to me. All we got to do is get there. But love how this fell. Very excited about this combination. This is a unique one for me that I am hyped about. This is why I love best ball. Like, this is so much fun. We get to just hang out with 12 of our friends here, 11 of our friends here, and compete to see who knows ball better. And not only do I know ball better, but y'all let me have Puka, Jeanty, and McBride. The rest of this draft is, oof, we're going to kick some ass here. I'm ready to go. But what other things can us bros that might not have it anymore, what else can we do to make $3 million bucks? This is a fun way to spend 45 minutes trying to use our ball knowledge to get life-changing money. That is the fun part of best ball. We do all this, watch all this content, do all sorts of research, watch tons of film, and we're just trying to be better at guessing the future than everybody in here. It's kind of a funny dynamic that we find ourselves in, but it is a ton of fun, and I am thankful to be able to talk ball with y'all. All right, coming up on our pick here, obviously we have a very balanced build here. We can go in any direction. So we'll jump over to players real quick to see some real targets here. My highest ranked guy is Breece Hall. He's been falling in these drafts. I only have one lineup with him and Puka. Swift is really jumping up boards. I think rightfully so with Manungai being out and, being the lead back in Ben Johnson's offense. I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's been a good pick year round, but with the Manungai injury, it looks even more so. I do think I'll go Hall if he gets to us. I think. Kind of considering Luther Burden. I only have 6% Burden, and I kind of want to get that number up. I also wouldn't mind getting my Garrett Wilson up. He's at this would be a fall for both of them. Man, these are 4 guys that I want to get more of. Build-wise, I think I'd need to go with Hall, though. I think it's just the better. We can chase a little bit more wide receiver down the stretch here. And we got Puka as our anchor there. Yeah, so go with Breece Hall there. Would love for Washington or Burden to fall to our next pick, but that's pretty unlikely. I think I want to go JMO when it comes back around to us. I don't have any of him with Puka. I've done enough damage with Tootin. Got 37% there. Still feel good about it, but I would like to mix it up a little bit in this range. And getting a little bit of Jameson Williams. Feels good if we don't get Parker Washington. Jameson Williams has big weeks. He's a guy that I prefer in best ball, but just because you're going to have some of these duds. But I doubt that's going to happen nearly as much this year, and I think we're going to see more boom games going into his 5th year. Part of the focus when Dan Campbell took over last year was to get him more involved. He does go off the board there, so that dream is dead. I've got 25% Washington with Puka. Hmm. Let's go Parker Washington. Everything just sounds like he's going to be on the field a ton, that he's going to be the go-to guy. I've only got 8% of him. He's a guy that I think has the potential to be a league winner this year. We're getting a guy that has, at this point, I honestly think has top 12 wide receiver upside. We're getting him in 4th round. And yeah, I think he's a really good value there. Yeah, get him at wide receiver 25. I think he can definitely outperform that pretty easily. And I think his floor is probably going to be around there. But based on how they're talking, I think 1,400 yards is within the realm of possibilities for him. Okay, so planning out where we want to go from here, we could definitely do a Trevor Lawrence stack with Washington later. We could add Stafford to Puka. I wish Stafford was a little cheaper. Really, I'm only drafting him on Puka teams. We could add like a late round Carson Beck to McBride and make this Raiders-Cardinals game a shootout week 17. Or we could just take a good quarterback, one of the top elite guys, and just backstack it. So we'll see how it falls here, but definitely don't want to get boxed out of quarterback. So I always like to have a decent game plan as we're going through it here. Brooks is the pick here for me. As you can see, I've got 42% Brooks in best ball, or in this tournament specifically. I think he's been a good pick all best ball season. I think he continues to be when we look at these other running backs around him. Like Henderson's going to, if he does have breakout potential, but it could be a long time till he's on the field. Pollard, I don't think has, like, obviously he's a starter, but I think his ceiling is like running back 20-ish, and that's not really a guy that I want to make bets on in this range. Warren has some upside, but is likely in a full-time split. And then you got JCM, who I think is another good pick that I have way above market that we'll try to go get later on as well. But to me, Brooks is going to be the lead guy right out of the gates with Hubbard having the hamstring injury. Even if Hubbard is back for week 1, my guess is that Brooks gets more carries than Chuba Hubbard does. And I think the industry and just in general is misreading like what it was going to be anyways between Brooks and Hubbard, like where it was going to be a pretty 50-50 split. When I listen to all the coach speak and just watch the actual interviews themselves of Canales and Dan Morgan, the GM, like these guys are like in love with this dude and are trying to feed him the rock. Like he's been under contract for 3 years, so I don't think that they're really worried about like, wearing the tires off. Like obviously they care for this kid and they want the best for this kid, but at the same time, I don't think that they're gonna like put a real cap on how much they use him. Like they want to get some return on the draft capital that they put on this guy. And I think they're going to likely are going to load him up with a lot of work. And I think he's an exceptional talent, has great contact balance. And I think has a chance to be an absolute league winner this year. Has legitimate RB5 upside, I think, if he got the enough volume. The offensive line injuries there are a little concerning, but the workload and his skill set, I think, gives him the opportunity to overcome that. So Hurts is the highest drafted guy here. Don't mind that. But I really want Herbert, and I also want JCM. So I think I'm just going to pull both these guys up. I'm going to go Herbert over Hurts. I just think I feel better in that bet, and I don't think I can get both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and take Herbert now, well ahead of ADP. I just think he, at the end of the day, is going to score more fantasy points than Hurts. And at this point in the best ball season, when I've only got 3 drafts left, like, we've done all the work. We've listened to all the content. We've watched all the film. I've done all my projections. It's enough trying to just balance out our portfolio and just try to build the best teams possible, build some teams with some conviction. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm taking Herbert over Hurts, despite, the 12 spots in ADP difference in their ADPs. I also like Herbert too, because I'm really digging backstacking him with Trey Harris, Charlie Kolar, and Keaton Mitchell as well. And then you can also add Brennan Thompson onto the very back of that as well. I think they're going to spread the ball around a lot. I think Herbert's going to have a lot of big games. And I think there's a really good chance that he has a huge year, but McConkey and QJ have plenty of spike weeks, but they underperform overall. But I think a lot of guys are going to have spike weeks. So I like making the bets on the cheaper guys, and hopefully in some of the playoff weeks, Herbert hits our lineup in a big way, possibly with one of those cheaper pieces that we add on later. But I just think he's going to score more points than Hurts this year. I think that Chargers offense is going to be pretty incredible. So I will reach here for the sake of getting our guy. They don't give you any points for whether or not you took the guy before or after ADP. You get points based on these guys' performance. And that's really the game, is do you know ball enough to build these teams that have good structure and good players on it, players that score more points than your opponents, and then just have those right combos in the playoffs. That's what we're trying to build here, is a team that has multiple ways to blow up and have big games, outlier performances in those playoff weeks. So Lawrence is also here, but I've built teams with Herbert and Lawrence before, and it's just tough to do because they have the same bye. It can be done, but in this case, I'm just going to go and lock up our running back 4 in JCM. I just think that he is going to greatly outperform this ADP. I think he's going to end up being the guy that gets the majority of the work, somewhere around 70% of the touches out of that backfield. And I think he's an explosive player. He's going to have some big weeks. He's an undrafted free, or maybe a 7th round, but he was either undrafted or a late round pick last year. I think it was 7th round now that I think about it. But he had 800 rushing yards last year and 8 TDs. And everybody's just saying that Rachaad White's going to replace him. No, they want this guy to take another step forward. He battled some injuries last year too, but with Daniels on the field and him being such a dynamic runner, he's going to have some of these big games. Like we saw 31 against the Chargers when we had a big week in week 17. He was on my highest winning best ball team last year. Well, if Lawrence gets back to us here at 101, I think I would take that discount. Those are 2 quarterbacks that can definitely have spike weeks, and we can build fun backstacks with both of these guys. We'll create some bye issues for our wide receiver room, but we will address that later. Also, the Jaguars and the Commanders play each other in week 17. So we got that fun little game correlation stat going already with Parker Washington and Trevor Lawrence against JCM. And I also think that the Commanders secondary is going to have all sorts of issues again this year. They're going to be in a lot of shootouts, score a lot of points, and I think JCM's going to catch the ball out of the backfield, so he's going to be able to play in those situations. Right now, people just assume that's going to be Rachaad White, but I think that JCM will be on the field for some of that. But also, I think they're just going to be a good offense, so they're going to score a lot of points, and he's an explosive player. That combination sounds like some really fun fantasy weeks. And when he's your running back 4, I think that's a really solid profile for a running back 4, especially a running back 4 we're getting in the 8th round. So I would be good with just these 4. If we get some nice value for like a high upside swing, maybe like a Ray Davis or something like that with a lot of contingent upside, and they play the Dolphins in week 17, you could see plenty of scenarios where Ray Davis gets a full workload there. That's the type of guy maybe late we'll attack. But if we don't get any more running backs, I feel confident that 2 of these guys week in and week out can hit our lineup, and they all have big upside to have those boom weeks that can carry us through the best ball playoffs. All right, so we only have 2 wide receivers, so we do need to start peppering that position. Wandale is kind of a perfect fit for a team like this. It'd be a real nice faller if he gets to us at this next pick. He left practice today, so maybe that'll help him fall a bit, but it was not a concussion. He does not fall, unfortunately. We needed one more spot there. Don't love anything in this range, but we'll go with Worthy. He's a scary pick, but he's a good pick. He's on an offense with Patrick Mahomes. Right now, he's the number 2 receiver. If he stays healthy, there's a lot of upside for big games and a big season. Whether or not he can handle a big enough workload to really pay off, that's something that I question. But this also gives us a nice Week 17 correlation with Herbert. Worthy's definitely a guy that can have a big game at any time. So don't mind him falling. Would have loved for Concepcion to get to us there. Wandale I would have preferred as well. He's a nice floor pick in this range because you can count on him just having a lot of usable weeks because you know he's going to get volume. Worthy is a little bit riskier pick, and when we only have 3 wide receivers through 10, it's not really ideal, but we'll find other spots to get some wide receiver depth here. There's plenty of spots here in the draft to do that. So I'm considering actually going Malik Willis here, and then we can stack him later with Chris Bell to add to our wide receiver room. Yeah, let's do it. We're going to lean into the guys we love. We're going to have a really sick 3-quarterback team here with Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and Malik Willis. When Malik Willis plays all 17 games this year, I think there is basically 0 chance that he is less than QB 12 because of his rushing upside. And I also think that he is a very accurate thrower of the football, and y'all are going to have your minds blown with how good he is. I think what the outcome is at the end of this year is that the Dolphins are not looking to draft a quarterback. They're looking to build around Malik Willis because they found their guy. Obviously, that roster has a ton of holes, but their offensive line played pretty well last year, and they're going to give the young guys a shot. And I think for fantasy points, that's going to be a real positive. Because it's going to be concentrated volume. They're not wasting their time with some dusty veteran that, might be the better player at the time, but they understand they're not going anywhere this year just because that roster is so weak. I mean, your highest paid player by far is Tua Tagovailoa. That's something like $50 million or something like that against the cap this year. And then it's Malik Willis. But I think that Willis is a good enough quarterback that he elevates people I know that seems crazy because this is his first real shot, but watch the tape. Watch all of his game film from last year and tell me you don't come away thinking the same thing. The guy was very accurate downfield, threw really well from the pocket, is an explosive playmaker, and he's going to be in plenty of come from behind scenarios. I think he's going to have a ton of big fantasy days. And I bet that Chris Bell or Caleb Douglas, or maybe both, are going to get just peppered with targets because they don't got anywhere else to go. And they want to let these young guys show that they can handle a workload. And if they can, awesome. If they can't, they'll move on from them. That's the kind of where this team is at. They're in that type of position. Okay, I was hoping that Myers would fall to us, but he does not. I think a similar pick here is actually Shakir, and I don't have a lot of him, so if he falls, I'll take him. Got Keaton Mitchell on a decent amount of my Justin Herbert teams already. Shakir's a guy I only have 4% of. But on a team like this, he's a guy that I think will hit my lineup enough times. Let's check this Q tag. Just make sure nothing. Yeah, that's nothing. Okay. I think he's a solid wide receiver for the complexion of this team. He's not a guy that we should expect like big boom games from. Like a boom game from him is like 20 points. He had one in the playoff games, but yeah, really only one other game above 20 points and just barely above 20. We're not going to get those huge ceiling games from him, but we'll get a lot of these 11, 12, 17, 15, 12, 9, 11, 9, 14. And that can obviously be super useful in best ball. We're not going to have, huge boom weeks every single week. So we need guys like that to help advance us. And he can also be a guy that, maybe he puts up that 20 spot in one of the playoff weeks and it's enough for us to advance. And I think he's a good value in this range, and I don't have a ton of him. Plus, we have the week 17 correlation with Miami there. So a lot of things working for that pick where it just felt like it was right for this team. Probably take Chig here. I'm just much higher on Chig than the rest of the market. Yeah. Another piece to our week 17 correlation with the Jaguars as well. But I think Chig is another guy, when you watch the film, it's different than what you see on the stat sheet. He's an explosive guy. I believe that he's basically going to take over the Zach Ertz role that we had in previous seasons with Jaden Daniels, but he's going to be an explosive version, a guy that can get some of that yards after catch after some of those dump off throws. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity to catch the football and have the ball in his hands and be a playmaker. So I think he is way underdrafted. He's fallen in drafts. The Commanders in general are falling in drafts right now just because they had a really bad joint practice with, I think it was the Ravens, if I remember correctly. And there's a lot of concerns about their offensive lines. Obviously, I am worried about that. I'm not just pretending that the offensive line doesn't matter. We had Laramie Tunsil, their left tackle, go be out for the year with a torn triceps, which sucks and definitely changes how you see that offensive line pretty dramatically. All that being said, the offensive line for Jaden Daniels' rookie year was awful, like really bad. So to me, there's still plenty of fantasy goodness in this team. And Jaden Daniels, as long as he stays healthy, like that's the key. I think a lot of the risk around him not being healthy has already been built in, but the upside hasn't been. Like if he stays healthy throughout the year and JCM is the starting running back and gets the majority of the carries, which I very much think that is what they are trying to do, and Chig is their number 3 option in the passing game, which I very much think he is, these guys are both absolute smashes in best ball. Okay, I am way ahead of market on Pat Bryant. So I'm going to go Pat Bryant and then just see who falls, whether it's Trey Harris or Travis Hunter to add on. I'd probably go Trey Harris first. But Pat Bryant, to me, I believe he's going to be wide receiver 2 in Denver. I think he outscores Courtland Sutton, but he's going, 70 picks after Courtland Sutton. So I am not afraid to. I have a ton of him in the 20th round, but I'm not worried about taking him in the 14th round. I think he's still a good pick here. And then we will see how it falls. We'll either go Harris or Hunter if either one of them are there for our next pick, but they both should be there. If they're both there, then I'm going to go with Harris to give me a stack with Herbert because I don't have a stacking partner with him yet. I think Harris is a good one there. I've already made the bet with Trevor Lawrence that Washington is going to be the dude there. I still don't mind adding Hunter late if I could get both of them. I would definitely do that. What I'm hoping to do is, like in an ideal world, I could go Harris and then Hunter falls. He has been falling a decent amount. It's because it does look like he's going to play more defense. But again, I don't need him to play offense all the time. But if he has a game where he gets 5 catches and catches the ball downfield, he's going to put up fantasy points. And maybe that's in week 17 against the horrific secondary of the Commanders. So he's a good pick. Harris does go off the board there, so we're not going to get both. So it does look like we are going to go Travis Hunter here. Then I want to get Chris Bell queued up. I definitely want him on this team. Hunter goes right before. Okay, so let's see what else we have in this range. McMillan's right there. Juwan, I don't want. Ray Davis is here. I did mention him earlier. It's a little bit of a reach. We probably need. Yeah, we'll go with McMillan. We need the wide receiver points, and I think he's a guy that is going to get a good chunk of playing time this year. And they also play the Rams in week 17, so maybe we can get a McMillan Puka shootout. Classic. Let's review where we're at on the team. So we're at a 3-4-6-2 build right now. We're definitely done at quarterback. I guess I should say definitely. I guess if we get down to the very end, we could think about adding Carson Beck, but I don't think we need to. We got enough upside with Herbert, Lawrence, and Willis that those guys should be able to get us through. We can be done at tight end as well with McBride and Okonkwo. I think that's solid, but if we wanted to add like a Kohler later, we definitely can. At receiver, we got Puka, Parker Washington, Xavier Worthy, Khalil Shakir, Pat Bryant, Jalen McMillan. Leaves a little bit to be desired there. I definitely do want to lock up Chris Bell with the next pick. I do think it adds a lot of value to this team. I think he has a chance to be their number one receiver and a guy that can get, 7 to 9 targets a week. I think that's a real possibility. I think their offense is going to be very concentrated, and I think there's a really good chance that he's the dude that it's concentrated to between him, Achane, and obviously Willis scoring lots of points. So yeah, we're gonna pull Chris Bell up if he gets here. 18% Bell. A lot of that was, around the 20th round. Everything has fallen for him better than anticipated. The Q tag's actually off of him now. He's practicing fully, and they're planning on having him play in tonight's game, actually. That's pretty crazy. Tore his ACL in December, and he's getting ready to play in a preseason game. But that's all trending on the right direction on a team that is going to have to throw the football decent amount. And I believe that they're going to be able to do that successfully because I believe in the talent of Malik Willis. That's the bet I'm making. And I know I'm in the minority there, but I feel really confident it's going to make me a lot of money this year. So I feel much better about this wide receiver room with the story that obviously I'm telling you all about Chris Bell and Malik Willis. If any shade of truth comes to that, we're in a good spot here. So really, we can go anywhere with these last 4 picks. Probably want to add some more receiver upside if possible. We could also add some shots at running back. I think we can go Dulcich and Kolar. Dulcich gets to us. I mean, if he falls to 197, that's pretty good value. Cooper is a pretty good value here too, and Bernard. Yeah, we'll go. We'll take the fall on Dulcich. If Cooper gets to us, we'll go Cooper. Okay, so the goal is to go either Cooper or Kolar here. And then like to add a couple receivers after that. Looks like Cooper goes off the board. So he'll go Kolar next, and then Bernard or Hurst are in consideration as well. Let's go off ADP. Got a lot of Hurst. I don't have any of with him and Puka though, which might be a good combo here. Maybe I don't want to miss out on Kolar though. I'm gonna go Kolar first. Just because it feels like he's gonna be on the field so much. And yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna get 5 to 7 targets a game and end up with something like 700, 800 yards receiving and have plenty of spike weeks where he scores touchdowns in the red zone. He's a good inline blocker. He's super athletic, has a receiving profile from college, just hasn't done it in the pros, but it feels like that's not going to be the case this year. And we're making the bet on Herbert. I think a chunk of Herbert's success is going to be coming from the breakout of Charlie Kolar. So everybody aboard the Polar Express. Sorry, the Kolar Express. Okay, he gets to us. So now we'll see if either Bernard or Hurst fall. We'll add one of them. If neither of the receivers fall to us, probably go Demario Douglas. I think that's a good pick now with the booty trade. And then I would probably start going the handcuff running backs. I've got a ton of Adam Randall. I think he is sneakily become the RB2 in Baltimore, and I think that having a 33-year-old running back, there's a high likelihood of injury, especially with the workload that Derrick Henry has had in the past. So I have been making that bet quite a bit. I also think there's a good chance that Jonathan Taylor gets hurt. He has an injury history and coming off a big workload, and looks like Seth McGowan is RB2, so that's a bet that I want to start making at the end of these drafts. So I would probably go him over Randall, so we'll go ahead and do that. Just because of my percentages there. Look at my percentages. Yeah, I got 20% Randall and only 3% McGowan, but he's likely only going to be 3% owned in this tournament. So, yeah, I think he's a good pick to get some leverage on the field. These are the kind of picks when we get to this point of the season, we have a lot more information. So, guys that the information's positive on, they all move up. And we got to find the scraps that have value, but there is value down here that people aren't capturing. So I think McGowan's one of those guys, a guy that has the potential to have to be RB1 and get an RB1 workload if Jonathan Taylor were to go down. Okay, so we were able to add Hurst, so that worked out nicely. So we're now at a 3-4-8-4 build, and we're going to add one running back in the last round. That is a high upside handcuff, and it likely will be Seth McGowan. But really like this team. Let's recap. We got 3 quarterbacks. We've got Justin Herbert, and we have him stacked with Charlie Kolar. Is that the only stack we have? I thought we got Trey Harris, but we did not. Yep, all we have is Herbert and Charlie Kolar, but that can work in week 17 or maybe week 16. Maybe that's the connection we need. Then we have Trevor Lawrence, and he's stacked up with Parker Washington and just Parker Washington. And then we got Malik Willis stacked up with Chris Bell and Greg Dulcich. So nice little stacks with our quarterback there. The rest of our wide receiver room is Puka Nacua, Parker Washington, Xavier Worthy, Khalil Shakir, Pat Bryant, Jalen McMillan, Chris Bell, Ted Hurst. Our running back room is Ashton, Jeanty, Breece Hall, Jonathan Brooks, JCM, and likely Seth McGowan. See if he gets there. Our tight end room, we went 4 deep, even though we went elite tight end with Trey McBride, but we went Trey McBride, Chig Okonkwo, Greg Dulcich, and Charlie Kolar. This is a team where we're definitely counting on the tight end to hit our flex a decent amount of time. Yeah, I feel really good about this squad. Feels like we've got guys that are going to contribute all the way up and down the roster with some real upside. All right, Seth McGowan it is. There it is, my friends. That's what $3 million looks like. Appreciate y'all tuning in. My name is Zach. I am the Million Maker Maniac. I appreciate y'all liking and subscribing. Please share the content. Trying to make this my full-time gig and just love talking best ball with y'all. We will have some DFS content coming up. We're going to start diving into week 1 here in the next couple weeks. But I'll probably also have some more recorded drafts as we finish up best ball season. Until then, we will see you in the next episode. Good luck, Maniacs. Appreciate you.